Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pretend Problems Podcast. I'm Kelsey Cook.
And I'm John Wilkes Booth.
Not even sure what to say about that.
Me either.
Where did that come from?
John Conroy's set this weekend. He, what a funny dude. Had such a great weekend at Comedy on State in Madison.
Yeah.
And both James Stanley and John Conroy worked the weekend, and both of them so funny.
Nice.
So funny.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great time. I met in the merch line. I met the couple that had emailed the show about the Ninja Creamy.
Oh, yeah.
And so they came in and they were like, "I'm sorry if we got you in trouble for leaving it at the cabin."
That's really funny.
Yep. Very, very funny. And so it was great to meet them. I just had an all-around fantastic week.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Was that the same couple by chance who wore and made Diet Cum shirts?
No, different couple.
God.
Yep.
If you listen to the podcast and you made a Diet Cum Pretend Problem shirt with "Does it taste better when there aren't kids in it?"
Yeah.
Quote from my special, The Hustler, on the bottom. My God. That was so cool. I hope that you come to one of my shows because I'd love to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And I want one of those shirts.
Yeah. The Creamy couple
should have been the Diet Cum couple.
Well, they were swingers.
You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. The Creamy couple.
The Creamy couple told me they were swingers, and well, you've got some work to do. I'm kidding. They're not at all. I just want to be very clear. They're not. I'm just.
They saw your flamingo tattoo.
I'm being a fool. I know. What a dipshit. It's like, whatever you do, don't do any research about what the only color in the tattoo is a flamingo in the sun. But anyways.
It really pops.
Yeah, absolutely. So great. But happy to be back because every time we leave, we have to put our shows on pause, and I hate it.
And when he says shows, he means our TV shows, our programs.
Yeah, our stories.
Our stories. I love how old we are. It's so
are
fun.
we? Okay.
We are old. Also, quick shout out to everybody in Omaha who came out to the shows at the Funny Bone. It was fantastic. 4 awesome shows. Didn't really know what to expect. First time doing that club, and it was great. So thank you so much. I loved it. And but yeah, when Chad and I are on the road, we do really miss getting to watch our programs. And so we just thought, you know what, we've just been so excited about so many TV shows, and we've got so many in the rotation right now. Yeah. Another one that I forgot to even mention before, The Voice.
Oh, right.
And so we just
Snoop Dogg's on The Voice.
So we thought we would just do a segment on the show today talking about what our favorite TV shows are right now and just give you some recommendations. And if you guys are watching them, maybe you write in and be like, oh yeah, shit, we love it too.
Yeah.
Where should we start? Well,
I think we should start with the documentaries.
Okay.
That we just watched. So we watched one on Lollapalooza.
It's called Lolla, the story of Lollapalooza.
Right. Which I kind of knew a lot of that stuff because I was living through it as an adult. And
not even as a child.
No.
As a full-grown adult.
As a full-grown adult. We were like, should we go to So I Married an Axe Murderer or should we go to Lollapalooza in Chicago? And we were like, I think since we live in northern Minnesota, we'll just stay up here and go to a Mike Myers movie. So Myers, there's 2 of them. Yeah. Camera 1, camera 2. I'd lived through it, but you had not known a lot of that stuff.
No. And I love music festivals, love concerts, all of that. I thought that the Woodstock documentary was really interesting. They've done a really good job of putting out a lot of documentaries in the past few years. Obviously, there was like the Fire Festival one too. But Lollapalooza, I didn't know that much about. I didn't know that it was the first traveling festival. Like that's kind of what set it apart, was that there hadn't been something like that, because Woodstock was, once a year, right, in one place.
Yeah.
Obviously later then you get Coachella, but the fact that Lollapalooza would take these massive headliners all together on a tour around the country, I thought was so cool to learn about. And now it seems like it's mostly just once a year in Chicago, right?
I think so.
Yeah. But Perry Farrell, lead singer of Jane's Addiction.
Yeah. And Porno for Pyros.
Yep. Didn't know anything about him. He is such a character. It's just if you like music and you like seeing how those things came to be, it's really cool the impact he had on so many musicians' careers.
Yeah, and if you look at all of the festivals that go on, and if they put the person that came up with it, if they put their picture next to it, you would look at all of them and you would see Perry Farrell and you would go, I'm going to that one.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be fucking wild.
Yes. Yeah. So many, like the first episode has all these crazy stories of like 9 Inch Nails when they were really young and starting out, like their equipment going to shit and them having to just like leave the stage. You get to see Lady Gaga start back in like maybe 2006 on one of the tiny side stages,
like
performing
the
like
third stage.
Yeah, performing to like maybe 50 people. And then was the main attraction within a few years or something.
Yeah. It was, fun to watch.
Yeah, really fun to watch. And then we watched another one called How Music Got Free. These are both on Paramount Plus. So that is the one drawback. I don't know how many people have Paramount Plus, but maybe worth getting for these. I don't know.
The numbers for Yellowstone, I'm going to guess just about everybody.
Okay. Okay, true. So yeah, we watched How Music Got Free, which was the story of essentially Napster, but it actually didn't feature Napster at all, really. So do you want to talk about it more?
Well, it was just like everybody. So it went from tapes to CDs, and then people started ripping CDs and putting them online for free, figuring it out with all the coding. And you had a lot of very popular artists getting their shit stolen. And they're like, it's coming out on October 11th. And everyone's like, we got it on the fucking 6th, nerd. And so they're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
So it was people that they said at one point, if you sold 40,000 copies of your album before they started ripping it and putting it online, you wouldn't have even been in the top 200. And 40,000 sales were getting you into the top 5, basically.
Yes.
Because no one was buying anymore. Everyone was just listening.
Yeah.
And I do understand how, let's say Metallica had a problem with Napster. I understand how when you're selling that many, for sure. But there were some people that really benefited because there were people that were like, oh, I don't know who this is, so I'll listen to them. I mean, it's the same like, I benefited hugely by Pandora having an algorithm where people were typing in Tom Segura, Nate Bargatze, whoever it is, and then mine would come up, and then they could just click on my name and start a station. And so it's like, I don't feel, too bad about it all happening.
True. Yeah, but you did get paid for those. I think what those big artists like Eminem, 50 Cent were upset about was that they weren't, their revenue was being hugely impacted, although their music was getting out there still, just like they weren't making the money.
Yeah, I think it probably in the long run sold way more tickets.
Yeah, true.
So who knows how much they actually lost.
Yeah.
I think who really was mad were the execs, like the music label execs, because they've been fucking people over forever.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me TLC, all 3 of them went bankrupt? After Scrubs and shit? You're like, how is that possible? And you're like, oh, that's right. A bunch of chubby white dudes are in LA stealing their money.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But the documentary is really worth watching because I don't think it's that known how it actually happened in terms of like getting that music online, and then who it involves, like this main CD factory. And
I think we should just stop right there.
Okay.
I mean, I avoided that on purpose.
Okay.
Because let's just.
Okay. I know it's so hard. We don't want to get spoilers.
Leave a little watchability.
Okay. Go watch it. You'll like it. And then we have recently become obsessed with the game show on Fox called The Floor. Yeah. With host Robert Lowenson.
I'm going to tell you something. I've liked Rob Lowe in everything he's done since I first saw him grace the screen on Youngblood. Was I confused when he took his shirt off? Was I confused about my sexuality? Yeah, I was. Because he had a hot girlfriend, but then he took his shirt off and I was like, I would also do that. So,
take a side of that as well, actually.
Yeah, I've loved him in everything. Parks and Rec, I mean, So funny, his character.
funny.
Really everything. Tommy Boy, all that shit. And he's just kind of like okay as a host.
Yeah, he keeps the show moving. I told Chad, I was like, if we are going to compare TV show hosts to, I think where the bar is set, which is Steve Harvey, Family Feud, then nobody's going to even come close.
It's not fair.
You can't.
Steven,
Harvey,
you've ruined it. You've ruined it for everybody.
You're too good.
With your giant ass mustache that makes your teeth look whiter than they are.
I think his teeth are that white.
I think they're very white as well.
It's insane how white his teeth are. But yeah, Rob does a fine job. Not the biggest personality in the world.
He does. So I guess what I was saying is you can kind of tell that his other stuff was written for him.
Yeah.
And maybe he's also tired. Who knows?
Probably.
The guy hasn't had a carb in 50 fucking years. Maybe. And this thing is kind of a long show.
It's a lot. It's like the equivalent to hosting an open mic where there's like 50 people going up. He has to manage so many people every episode, so many different personalities, and it's an hour-long show. It's a lot.
I will say, so here's the setup. It's 9x9.
Squares.
And so there are 81 people, and they each have a square. And then they can challenge the people next to them and gain ground. And then obviously, if you only have one square, if you're sitting in your original square, but and then he also has to go, activate the randomizer, which kind of sucks, but I get it. And so it randomly, I'm air quoting, picks someone that always seems to be next to the biggest group.
Yeah.
So you go, I don't know how random this is.
Yeah.
But then you can only have one square, and you can challenge someone to 50 squares.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty fun. But I will tell you one thing I love that Rob Lowe's doing is when someone misses an easy one, there's a camera on him. So it's a trivia contest, basically. Two people go to a podium. They're facing one another. The screen shows you what the question is. So it could be like items in your bathroom.
Yeah.
And apparently it's someone's specialty, which seems weird.
Or vegetables or whatever.
But it's like, plunger, toothbrush, toothpaste, whatever it is.
But they're just showing pictures of it, and they have to guess as fast as they can.
And then someone will miss something easy, and Rob Lowe will just turn, and his face basically says, what a dumb fuck, which is awesome. I love the attitude. And then sometimes it carries over when he goes back up to the podium, and he's like, how did you miss that one? He really, it seems kind of autistic the way he goes after people.
It's 0 to 100 in a lot of the situations.
And that part I do love.
That is fun.
Where he's just like, you don't know who Farrah Fawcett is? It's like, dude, just because you fucked Farrah Fawcett in 1972 doesn't mean that a 19-year-old's going to know who that is.
Yeah. Somebody who wrote in about Austin Powers recently on the show, you would love it because somebody missed an Austin Powers question, and Rob Lowe is in Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
he's
right.
like, you didn't know this? That's my movie. And they're like, I'm sorry. But you could tell he was like, what the fuck, man? Don't disrespect me on my own
But the
stage.
girl did actually say, she goes, I know, and you're in it. Like she did realize the thing, but the floor is pretty cool. I mean, you start to like some of the contestants, and I'm going to tell you something else. Spoiler alert, or shock alert, or whatever you need to hear. I fucking hate some of them.
Yeah, there's some personality casting for sure. I mean, you have to. It's 81 people. There's got to be some people that are just like kind of hateable and way too competitive, where you're just like, okay,
right. But they go up there for the first contest of trivia, and they're like, oh my God, I'm just so nervous. I don't really know anything. And this is, if I go home, I go home. And then they get 4 squares, and now they're talking to everyone else on the floor like, you need to fucking dominate this person because we're going to win that bullshit up there. And I know everything. And then they'll cut to them afterwards. And she was always like, oh, I knew every one of those. It's like, okay. No, you did not.
Yeah, they get really cocky when they're not under intense pressure, being timed, all this stuff.
And her jacket sucked shit. That was rough for me.
There was one lady in the first season who, I mean, if you watch, you'll know. She made herself fairly unlikable, and she was very open about the Jesus-y stuff, and I think that was kind of tough for some people too.
Yeah, she would, before every contest, she would go, Jesus, just give me the answers if you want, and if you don't, I'll go home. And it's like, oh, relax. But here's the thing. We also know that editing can make someone look like a shithead.
It's true.
I am in a documentary with Tom Segura and Pete Lee when we're in Asia, and J. Elvis Weinstein, the guy who actually directed the documentary, kind of made Pete look a little crazier about some stuff than he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is also kind of funny, but so editing can make you.
Yeah.
I'm sure when the cameras weren't on, I'm sure she was like, "Oh my God, that was great. This is so fun." And then now they're kind of, they need you to not like someone, so you tune in and hope she loses.
Right.
I mean, it's brilliant television, but I had a lot of fun watching that. And we're one episode into season 2.
Yeah. And if you guys have been listening to the show for a while, you know that Chad and I do our daily competition puzzles. And so this is kind of like another thing to add to. I mean, we're kind of competing against each other when we watch it, because we'll like pick a person and shout the answer when we know.
Now we've started picking a person. Before, it was a free-for-all, and it was too much for me.
Yeah, I noticed that you started to not say anything. I was like, why aren't you saying the answers anymore?
Because you scream them immediately. And, sorry to break this to you, but a picture of a toothbrush wasn't on the Mensa test. Sorry. I'm busy turning blocks into a picture like a monkey.
My God. Yeah, we had to figure out a system.
But I like the new one. I like when we pick someone and then we do it. But there are times where the person will say something so fast. I'm not fast on this game. It takes me a while to go, oh, that's a plunger.
Yeah.
It takes me just a second.
That's what's weird about this show is it seems like it's going to be a really easy thing to do. Like, oh, like I said, categories vegetables. We're going to show you a picture of a vegetable. And when it's your turn, you say the answer as fast as you can. Yeah. And then you realize, like, when you just see a picture of something with no word and you're under pressure, I'm shocked at how many times I'm like, oh, what is that? Oh, fucking Brussels sprout. But your brain gets caught on things pretty easily.
One of them was U.S. states. And this guy, it wasn't his category. It was this lady's category. And then she got up there and he was like, just so you know, from age 2 to 12, I had a placemat that was a map of the United States. And this dude, as soon as a state would come up, would say it. And she didn't miss one.
Yes.
She didn't miss a state the whole time, but she would go, North Dakota, West Virginia. And the ums ended up being 12 seconds worth because you each have, I think, is it 30 seconds or a minute?
I think the clock goes for like 50 seconds.
Okay.
60 seconds
and then so when it's on you and you're thinking about it, your clock is counting down. And if you have to skip it, it takes away 3 seconds. So all the ums and the ahs from her added up to 12 seconds because this dude won by 12 seconds. It's this is probably boring the shit out of you, but it is a fun show.
Yeah, I know. I was saying before we started, I was like, I want us to share these shows we're loving because I think it's fun for us to talk about, but it is one of those things where it's almost like describing your dream to somebody where they're like, I wasn't in your head. But we're trying. We're doing
I
our
had
best.
a bicycle with bananas for the handles. And people are like, shut the fuck up. We're on the train, dude.
Yeah. But anyway, we're liking The Floor. We're also loving The Voice, which I used to watch The Voice quite a bit. And then I did for a while. Yep. And now we're watching it together and I love it.
Yeah. We've got old Gwen Stefani.
Well, Gwen, who looks
I don't want to talk about it.
That'll
get me in trouble. I'm not saying anything. And then we have Michael Bublé, who's lovely. She's so hot. Michael Bublé, who is awesome.
That never gets you in trouble.
And he's a rookie. And then we have Reba McEntire, also.
Biba McEntire.
Don't want to say anything, but also hot.
Reba looks great, especially for her age.
She's 69 years old.
She looks, she doesn't look like scary plastic surgery, but like you can tell she's had some things to just keep it fresh. Still. But
no, so here's something for older guys. It's impressive when you can shoot your age golfing. right?
Oh.
So you have these 80-year-olds, they shoot 80 and you go, how'd you play today? And they go, shot my age. That's very hard to do.
Wow. That's
Right? Because
cool,
you
yeah.
feel like if you're 70, to shoot 70 is fucking wild because
Yeah.
par is 72. But I was thinking like Reba McEntire is 69. And it's like, what do you do about that?
Reba, how do you tell people?
How do you tell me you're 69, Reba?
How do you shoot a 69? Yeah, I do feel like however many years ago when Gwen, I think, first was a judge on The Voice, it did seem like some of whatever she was doing to her face was maybe a little much and seemed a little like what's happening here. And then now maybe she starts seeing a new person. She looks unfucking believable. She just looks so gorgeous. It's crazy.
Yeah, and she is, I've told you this before, I think,
Yeah.
stepsister of one of the owners of Glam Doll Donuts right here in the Minneapolis area. And if you are from Minnesota, if you're ever going to come to Minneapolis for anything, go to Glam Doll Donuts because they're fucking delish. Because I'm going to tell you something. When I can have eggs and dairy again, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to have donuts. And you go, oh, wow, how cool. No. For all meals for 1 week, I'm going to have donuts. Then I'm going to have ice cream, all meals for 1 week. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's going to get fucking ugly up a here.
When we're done talking about our shows, we also should talk about the date that I surprised you with.
Oh,
and what happened
yeah.
because it made me think of caramel apples with donuts.
Oh, gotcha.
But anyway, we're loving The Voice. It's so fun. It's just like, it's a successful show for a reason.
Yeah,
It's
we
been
have
around
we have
forever.
so many shows. I'm sure you guys do too. If you have any recommendations, we'd love to hear them. Of course, there's a new season of Love is Blind.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new season of Great British Baking Show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I got to tell you, man, I love doing stand up, but I also love being on the couch watching shows.
Mm-hmm. And we love watching football. Go Vikings. Undefeated. Oh my God.
Yep.
It's so cool.
Pretty good stuff.
Okay. We're going to talk about the date.
Time out. I'm so sorry. I just want to say, since you've moved here, you've had 2 weak-ass winters, and you've only had to deal with the situation, right? I'm weaning myself off Kirk Cousin hate.
Uh-huh.
The situation for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you get this team. It's like you're so spoiled.
Maybe I brought good luck.
Yeah, that could be. Maybe it is you and not you getting the good luck. Maybe you're sending it out.
Perhaps.
But either way,
Hashtag crystals.
I'm just saying when you come, like sometimes you're like, well, I had to move here. I had to move here for you. It's like you're getting the best of all the shit.
It's been pretty great so far.
Yeah, it has.
So I took Chad on a surprise date last week where
Yeah.
I just was like, we're going somewhere and we're doing something and then we're going to go somewhere for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Team on 3, 1, 2, 3 team.
We went to, may I?
Yeah.
This arboretum. So gorgeous. It is a 3-mile walk, all sorts of different plants, flowers, trees, everything. We went into a maze, get 26 out of 27, got a little weirded out by it. Little sensitive person, got a little crazy and had to crawl out the kid exit.
I panicked. It seemed like such a small, easy to do maze. And then I realized that I kept hitting dead ends and I couldn't hear your voice anymore. And I panicked.
You know the plastic tube at like a McDonald's play area that's always has fries and a half-eaten cheeseburger in it? That's what she had to crawl out to get out of the maze. And she's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm at the exit. What's going on? Like, I went out the kids' exit. I got scared.
Oh God, I had flashbacks to being like 5 years old and losing my mom in the grocery store. I'd be like, where's my mom?
I always thought you wanted to lose your mom at the grocery store because she was always yelling at everybody.
Oh my God, I have a story when I was really young at a McDonald's, like young. My dad was ordering food in line and I went up and put my arm around his like hairy leg and I looked up and it wasn't my dad. And I went, and I started screaming and crying.
And that guy was probably like, I didn't do anything. I was just standing here. I don't know what's going on.
Oh my God, I'll never forget it.
John and I went to the Wisconsin Badger game on Saturday. Compliments of the club and a sweet ass liquor rep. Thank you so much. And I sat next to a guy that I'm going to tell you something. I wasn't crazy about him.
Okay.
Because this dad and his daughter, she was in college, walked by, and we had to stand up for them and whatever. And then he doesn't stand up, so she has to like, it's so tight in there, by the way. And she has to like maneuver her way. And he looks at me and he goes, well, at least she had great legs. And I was like, dude, it's way too fucking early for this. It's way too early for me to have to defend this kind of conversation. I have a 20-year-old daughter. You think I'm looking at some fucking college age kid's legs?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was something else.
Maybe it was the creepy neighbor that our listeners written about.
Oh, it could have been. It was a lot of that shit.
Anyway, we also we got some fresh apples from an apple orchard nearby, and
No, not an apple orchard, if I may.
Is it not an apple orchard?
Well, it is an apple orchard, but I just want to make sure that they know this is where the Honey Crisp was invented.
Oh, okay.
It's University of Minnesota land, and the Honey Crisp and so many other hybrids have been invented here. So I just don't want to say like an apple orchard. While it's
Okay.
in my life, it's the most important one.
Oh, okay.
Because I love a Honey Crisp, and now I love a first kiss.
I know. It was so cool. We got to walk around, and they had all these different types of apples that they have created there, and they told you what its parents were. It's like, this is a Honey Crisp combined with this, and it was fucking amazing. So we had a bunch of apples, and Chad was walking around the inside of the store where there are all these caramel apples, and he was just looking at them longingly and was like
blue cheese stuffed olives.
And blue
There's
cheese
everything I couldn't have.
everything he couldn't have. He's like, God, I love caramel apples. This is like so hard not to be able to get one. And I made a mental note. I was like, tomorrow I'm going to make him a vegan caramel apple. I'm going to make vegan caramel from scratch, and I'm going to try to make a good caramel apple. And so I surprised him with that the next day. But I had never made a homemade caramel apple before. And I realized that getting the caramel on the apple is like a really specific science. It has to be at like the perfect temperature. I would have had I would have gone home immediately on Great British Baking Show if it was a caramel apple challenge, because I poured that shit on there and it immediately slid right off onto the bottom. And it was just like the saddest looking plate in the world. I put a little clip of it on my Instagram at Kelsey Cook Comedy. I was in my stories. It's not there anymore. But anyway.
I will tell you though, obviously the thoughtfulness, A+.
Thanks.
The effort, A+. And it wasn't, you were so worried about it. You're like, oh, this isn't good. But all I had to do, I went out, I got my chisel and my hammer, and I took the apple and I take a bite of the apple, and then I would chisel and hammer some of the caramel. And I'd put that in my mouth too. And I would let that sit there and then let it dissolve. And then I would chew it all together. And can I tell you what? It tastes exactly like a fucking carameled apple.
It's the effort that counts.
And actually, obviously, I didn't have to do any of that stuff. It was super good. It just slid off, and I just had to take a spoon and put it on the slice. It was very, very good. So thanks.
You're welcome.
And then we went to a restaurant, and we had never been there before.
Yeah.
And it was Vietnamese street food.
Yeah, but like in a restaurant.
Let me tell you a little story about these Brussels sprouts.
Oh my God, they were so good.
Yeah. Also, are beans the magical fruit that make you toot? Because Brussels sprouts go for it. But it was crazy. There was cilantro. There was mint. If you got a bite of everything, it was one of the best Brussels sprouts I've ever had.
Yeah, I was just gonna say top 3, if not best one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we went from 3 nights in a row of Chipotle smoked brisket. What the number that did on our stomachs, to these Brussels sprouts, thinking, oh, we're eating vegetables. This will be healthier, and it was healthier, but so hard to digest.
But that place was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was nice.
So thanks for the date.
Oh, you're welcome.
Super nice.
You're welcome. And then I know we mentioned on the previous episode that Chad and I had gone to the frontotemporal dementia fundraiser, and that it all went great. And then I ended up getting coffee with the woman who put it on, and just kind of talking more about her story with her husband and my story with my mom. And there had been a professional photographer at this event.
Yep.
And like a backdrop, all this stuff. And the woman had asked us to take a group photo, like all the volunteers take a group picture. And she got the pictures back, and she goes, by the way, in the group photo, we could see the outline of a man's hair standing behind one of the women, and we couldn't figure out who it was. And then I thought, I think that might be Chad. And so will you take a look at this picture and tell me you think it's Chad? And she pulled it up and I was like, what in the fuck was he doing? We're going to have Justin put it on the screen right now. And you can play a Where's Waldo version with Chad. You could just see the top of his hair and maybe like the shoulder of his jacket. But I came home and I was like, what happened, man? What gold spectrum situation was that about? What the hell? So do you want to explain what happened?
Yeah. I'm not supposed to live here. I am in a program. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I don't like to be seen in pictures. No, here's what happened. I was in the back and then people started filing in. And the next thing you know, I thought it was going to be 2 rows. Next thing you know, it was like 3 or 4 rows maybe.
Yeah.
And then these people moved right in front of me and I didn't know anyone. I was just there to help out on this drawing thing.
Yeah.
So I wasn't about to go, excuse me, guys. You're blocking me from the picture. I don't like.
You don't even like getting your picture taken. You were probably stoked about it.
Well, no, but there was no chance I was going to say anything at all that resembled making it about me. And so I just sat back there and they took the picture. And then as we were breaking away, I was laughing so hard as everyone was just, I was like, that was awesome. This is how I should take my picture from now on.
Oh my God. I just hope you guys laugh at that picture as much as I did. I was just like, oh my God, I can't take you anywhere.
Well, even if you do, no one will know. That's the best part.
I have no photographic evidence that you were there.
Yep.
Anyway, okay. Well, we're going to get into the middle segment, which was submitted to us by one of you listeners. It's actually somebody who has submitted a middle segment to us before, and they just keep it coming with these great ideas because you guys know sometimes we don't always have a middle segment idea locked and ready to go. And so we love getting ideas from you guys.
Yes.
I just said ideas 47 times. It's pretendproblemspodcast@gmail.com if you would like to write in and talk about the middle segment, or you can submit a question if you want us to give you advice on anything, or if you want to write about something we're talking about on the show, go for it. So this is titled Middle Segment Idea. Hey, Kelsey and Chad, another food-related middle segment idea. As the weather is starting to cool down in the Midwest, hello from Michigan, do you have any favorite crock-pot meals to make when you're going to be home for a few days? Why did I say it like that? For a few days.
For a few days.
For a few days. Soups, stews, dips, appetizers. Boil them, mash them, stick them in stew. Boil them, mash them, stick them in stew. Potatoes. Okay. If not, I can send links to some of my favorites for inspiration. Although I will probably leave out the chorizo queso recipe, since that might actually send Kelsey to the hospital based on her past stories. And I need this podcast to help ignore my office job. Your pretend pal, Wade, aka Rank the Carbs Guy. That was a fun one. Well, Wade, I'm going to defer this question to Chad because he is the main cook in our house and he makes an amazing crockpot meal. That's my favorite.
Now, yeah, first of all, I'd like to say that I love a very standard pot roast, potatoes, carrots, onion, some Lipton onion soup mix, and just throw that in. That is my all-time favorite meal.
Yes.
In a crock pot.
My grandma used to make that, and that was incredible.
Yeah, my mom used to make that for me on my birthday all the time. When my grandparents wouldn't come down and take me out, and then I would go to Ponderosa, all you can eat shrimp. What's up?
Ooh.
So, are you bored?
Sorry.
Anyways, unbelievable.
Stop. I'm tired.
God. Her stories, she's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
And then I get tired because I talked for so long.
Okay, so... but here's one that I really, really love. It's a barbacoa taco. So 4 pounds beef chuck roast. I'm reading this. Cut into 3-inch chunks. 1 onion diced. 3 to 4 chipotles in adobo sauce. Finely diced. 5 garlic cloves minced. 1/4 cup fresh lime juice. 2 tablespoons apple cider vinegar. 1 tablespoon ground cumin. 1/2 tablespoon dried oregano, 2 teaspoons salt. You put that shit in there, you let it rip. It's very good. Now I'm going to recommend, if you're going to do like street taco style shells or what kind of tortillas? Jesus. Hi, I have an 873-day streak on Duolingo for Spanish. What's it called? What's a shell? So I would dip it in the juice and then I would fire it up in your pan because that's going to give it a crunch and it's going to give it some extra tang, which is real nice. Yeah. I would also recommend some cilantro and dice up some onions just like they do on street tacos. But the meat is too legit to quit. Hey.
It's my favorite thing you make.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we have it soon? In love.
Okay.
Can you make it soon though?
Wow. Hey, thanks a lot, Wade. Why don't you mind your own fucking business, dude? Why don't you send us some food, brother?
Cut. Yeah. Okay, this next one is titled "The Loud Eater Crunches Again." They say, "Hey guys, it's me, the loud eater again. I wanted to update you on my latest attempt to quiet my eating. After you read my pretend problem on the pod, something Kelsey said about the sinus cavity inspired me. So at dinner, I pinched my nose and plugged my ears thinking it would help. My wife looked at me and said I was even louder."
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many hands do you have?
Yeah, I know. Did you do a security alarm going off? Wrap around? Dealy Bob? I guess I'll have to eat in the car now. Just kidding. She's been great about it. She really is my soulmate. Oh, that's very nice.
That is very nice.
On a serious note, Kelsey, we share something in common. My dad had CADASIL, a genetic brain disorder that causes dementia-like symptoms. We lost him at 65. I'm so sorry.
No shit. That sucks.
Yeah, that's so young. I feel for you when you talk about your mom. It's tough, but there's humor in the hard moments. For instance, after a visit, we got a call from his care facility because he'd smuggled a switchblade back with him. Oh my God. Is your dad Jason Bourne?
That's amazing.
Unbelievable. I've been wondering, should I feel sad about losing him? I grieved him before he passed, knowing he wouldn't live past 65. People seem to think it's odd that I'm not more upset. Anyway, sorry if this is long. Chad said my last one wasn't, so I made sure this one was. Love the pod, Scott. Scott, you know, that it's just such a personal thing. I don't think that's a should you or shouldn't you feel any sort of way. It's like you feel how you feel.
I think it's an are you or aren't you. And there is no shame in not being sad about it if you feel like you've already grieved them.
Well, and it's also like, I don't know how close you and your dad were. I don't know if you approached him passing as kind of like the way people do, where they, if somebody's suffering and they pass, then it's like, oh, I'm celebrating that they are no longer suffering anymore. So I don't know if maybe that's an approach you had, but I know for me, it's like whenever my mom passes, I'm going to be mourning two completely different people at one time. I'm going to be mourning the mom I had my whole life before dementia, and then I'm going to be mourning the mom that I've had since she got dementia, which is, again, like a completely different person. And yeah, I said it in the talk I gave at that fundraiser, but it's the most complicated grief. It's like so hard to wrap your brain around. But yeah, I think that however you feel is how you feel, and everybody's different. So I'm sure you saw him at times in a way where you were just so sad that he was going through what he was going through. So maybe you are leaning more into that you're glad he's not suffering anymore.
Yeah. And if, you know, for 6 months you don't feel any grief, but then one day you want to have his favorite ice cream and a good cry,
yeah,
do it. I mean, there aren't any rules to grieving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the 7 stages of grief, that woman has come forward and said like, oh my God, this really got super misinterpreted. This isn't meant to be a linear thing. It's not meant to be this step, then this step, then this step. And then like you get to the finish line and you're done grieving. She's like, it can happen in any order and it's not meant to be something that's finished. She's like, you can keep circling through these emotions forever. So, okay, this next one. Almost just shattered that glass. Holy moly. This next one is titled Moose in the Morning, Spurs Confession, Pretend Problems Podcast Provides Absolution.
Brrr.
Hi, Kelsey and Chad. I've been meaning to write this for a while, and I thought I should get it in now before you grow your listenership to the point of hiring an email screener. First off, I am so grateful for your podcast. The level of sincerity, vulnerability, and openness you both bring to the pod is wondrous. That's such a nice sentence. Thank you.
It is nice. Thank you.
My husband and I have what I would consider a happy, communicative, and heart-centered relationship, but even so, things periodically come up that need addressing. Most of it can be traced to my feelings of inadequacy, poor self-image, and my quickness to anger.
Sounds pretty weak to me.
Okay. So funny. In hearing some of the ways Chad speaks to himself, I see myself, and it has really been eye-opening. It helps me to re-examine myself by saying, here's a person who is thoughtful, loving, fiercely devoted as a father and a partner. He is successful and objectively handsome. If he can't see what everyone else sees in him, maybe I can't see what others see in me. I work alone in a manual labor job, so I get to reflect on the open and honest and sometimes uncomfortable conversations you have together, and it has saved me from several discordant marital situations. Thank you. You're welcome. Now I have a quick thing to add about LASIK, and then a solid paragraph about how much I respect Chad's work, then a confession and a plea for help. Should you choose to read it on the podcast and it's too long, you may truncate the paragraph about Chad being awesome and summarize it to Chad is awesome and read the rest. I love this email. First, I love LASIK, but one of the side effects that was not mentioned was sensitivity to light. I was very sensitive to light for a few weeks and then for several months after, which would be something to consider for a person who spends time under and over stage lights. Yes, thank you for telling me, because that is definitely something I need to think about. Can I read your compliment paragraph?
Sure.
Okay. Second, I've been a fan of Chad for 6 or 7 years, and I got to see him in New York a couple years ago. My husband and I waved, and I noticed Chad had such kind eyes and a genuine bearing that impression seems to be accurate based on the podcast.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Very nice. What I think is so special about Chad's work is that he keeps improving. There are many great comedy specials out there, but I think it is rare to have so many from one human. I think my favorite is actually 12th Night. I laughed so hard I almost broke my face. And then she does describe how she almost broke her face, but all of that to say, I respect Chad's work and craft, and I think he is a good human. So, confession time. This is going to make me sound like an asshole, but I repent. I have listened to stand-up for 20 years, since my early 20s, and I have held the belief for a long time that women comics weren't funny. I think part of it is...
Yeah. It sounds like something that someone would say that agrees with that, though.
For sure. I think part of it is that I couldn't really connect with the women. I found the jokes tried too hard to be sexual or crass, and I just wrote it off. Horrible, I know. Then the most annoying, yet somehow one of my favorite morning show hosts, Moose, started interviewing comics, and he interviewed a few women who were funny.
Can I explain this?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so on my other podcast, Middle of Somewhere, my friend / lover / co-host had some health issues, and so took a hiatus, but I wanted to keep it going. So then I did this character called Moose in the Morning, where I'm like, hey everybody, it's Moose in the Morning, it's alive time, it's drive time, and I would pretend to interview these guests as a morning radio host, a horrible version of one. There are so many great ones. Yeah. And so anyways, I just wanted to explain that.
Yeah.
To people that have like, who the fuck is Moose in the Morning?
Yeah. I started to wonder if I was missing something. Then Chad and Kelsey made their announcement, and I thought, if Chad respects and loves this woman and thinks she's talented, I got to check it out. Kelsey, the hustler, knocked my socks off. It was so good. I am so excited to see and hear more from you, and as co-host of PPP, you're quick and funny, and I'm so glad to be able to listen to you. And so now I happily admit that I was so wrong about women. I just hadn't found the right ones. I realized, too, that Pandora doesn't play women on their comedy stations unless it's Women in Comedy Station. So I had to do some research and find women. There are so many out there that I had never heard before. Kelsey mentioned Taylor Tomlinson in the Patreon episode this week, and her Netflix special was fantastic.
Yeah.
So good. So here's my quest for absolution. I need to start listening to and spread the word about women comics. Who are some of the greats that you like? And Kelsey, what is the business like for women? How has it changed, if at all? Why does it seem like women in comedy don't get the recognition and opportunities that men do? Anyway, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you, Kelsey, for your comedy, your heart, and your wisdom. I already said nice things about Chad, so see above. Peace. Man.
That's very nice.
That email I mean,
No,
thank you so much.
Can I answer some of these?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so like, how is it for women in comedy? I mean, pretty easy because they flash their tits, and it's like, wow, now you're famous. So check that off. What else did she say? What else did she ask?
When you asked if you could answer, I should have just been like, no. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you sure should have. So I actually see it from friends and now a very in-depth version with you. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes I just want to start screaming for them.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely parts that are unfair and, out of balance. But I will say, I think if you are a strong female comic, like if you've been doing it for a while and you've honed your craft and all that, I think you can stand out more easily sometimes than men because there just are fewer women in stand-up than there are men. So, that's a conversation I could probably do for like an hour, but I don't like to beat that drum too much of like the things that are unfair because I'm sitting here 15 years in, I couldn't be happier about where my career is at. So it's kind of like, well, how much can I be upset about currently for myself? But, so you asked, who are some of the greats that you like? Let us preface this by saying we will miss some people. There are so many amazing female comics. Like we're going to end the episode and be like, oh, fuck them. Yeah. But so Taylor Tomlinson, obviously, like I mentioned, one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. Rachel Feinstein.
Yeah.
Fortune Feimster. Jessica Curson.
Oh, yeah.
Emma Willman.
Uh-huh.
Laura Peak.
Uh-huh.
See.
Want me to go for a little bit?
Yes, please go.
Okay.
Jackie Cation.
Mary Santor. So I'm going to tell you this.
Yep.
I personally, Chad Daniels, if they said, Chad, we're giving you the power to make one person instantly famous, a household name, it would be Jackie Cation.
Oh, yes.
I think that the way she does stand-up and just the way she kind of lives her life, but the approach she takes to stand-up, the ability to see she has a little bit of everybody in her heart. And I will tell you, the way she leans into the crowd, like physically leans toward the crowd for a punchline is absolutely incredible. And there are some guys that become very famous doing that. And it was Jackie's. Yeah. So, we have Beth Stelling.
Oh, Beth Stelling, one of the greatest. Absolutely.
There are just so many. We have Rosebud Baker.
Jordan Jensen.
I'm going to say Lori Kilmartin. Is a very, very brilliant writer and performer.
Yeah.
And I featured for her in Appleton, Wisconsin. We had to share a condo.
Really?
And she was just so nice. But you watch what she has done. She wrote for Conan for a long time.
Yeah, she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really Ida Rodriguez. God.
I love me some Amber Preston. I'm going to tell you that.
Amber Preston. Yes. There are so many, but maybe start there. And as this episode ends, we are going to hop over and do a mini bonus Patreon episode. And so maybe as we're talking about whatever we're talking about there, we'll think of more over there.
Oh, I have one. Yeah. So Wendy Liebman, I know I've talked about her a lot with you, but Wendy Liebman came up with this style of comedy that a lot of people use. If you watch Wendy, you're going to go, oh, she stole this from so-and-so, who's now very famous. Yeah. And that isn't how it happened. So, and it's almost like a family tree coming down where you go, all right, this, George Carlin inspired these three people, and they each inspired three people, and they each, so it does get a little crazy and convoluted. But Wendy Liebman came up with this style, so amazing. And then I don't know her, but here's a story I heard because I saw her on America's Got Talent, and her story was that she had to quit. She didn't have to. She chose to quit, raise a family, and then get back into it. But the problem with comedy is, you've heard the phrases, strike while the iron is hot, use the momentum, ride the wave, whatever it is. Yeah. If you stop for that long, people do forget about you and you have to start from the bottom, which is fucked up because there are so many people doing her cadence that it's too bad. I mean, just really, really one of the matriarchs of a major part of comedy, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, obviously, Amy Schumer, Nikki Glaser, Ali Wong. Those are more household names that you probably already know. But yeah, I feel like the ones we named maybe aren't. Well, Taylor, I'm sure you already had known. But yeah, just lots and lots of amazing female
Yeah, we're
comics out
definitely
there.
going to come in hot with a whole new list, I'm sure. Because
Yeah.
like you said, as soon as we stop this, it's going to be like, ting, 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 ting.
Yeah. But I do feel like we listed a lot, so that's good.
No,
but,
that's true.
Thank you for such a kind email. And yeah, I feel like I answered your questions. How has it changed from? And I mean, I do think women are really killing it in comedy right now. I think there's a lot of opportunities. But yeah. All right. We're going to hop over and do Patreon. If you want bonus episodes and all kinds of fun stuff, it's patreon.com/pretendproblems. Jenna is almost done making the bracelets for those of you who have been at our
Heck yeah.
fuck yeah fixer tier for 3 months or more. So get excited for those. We're getting those going. And yeah, hop on over to Patreon if you want more episodes. We'll talk to you over there. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.